At the grand gate of a luxury mansion, a dirty, tired beggar stepped forward, asking for food, but his sharp eyes silently observed everything, hiding a truth no one could imagine. The security guard pushed him away harshly, calling him useless. While inside the garden, the maid noticed the scene and quietly walked toward the gate with something in her hands. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. She ignored the guard's anger and offered the beggar a plate of fresh fruit, her voice calm and respectful, as if she didn't see his poverty, only his hunger. The beggar looked at her carefully, surprised, because this wasn't part of what he expected. Most people showed disgust, but she showed dignity without hesitation. Meanwhile, inside a luxury office across the city, the same man's empty chair sat waiting, because the billionaire owner had disappeared without telling anyone his real plan. A few days earlier, inside that same office, he had fired multiple workers for small mistakes, believing loyalty didn't matter, only perfection and control. That same evening, inside his car, he had decided to test his own staff by disguising himself as a beggar, wanting to see who respected humanity beyond money. Back at the mansion gate, the maid gently told the beggar to sit and eat peacefully, even as the guard mocked her for caring about someone worthless. As the beggar took the first bite slowly, his eyes didn't show hunger. They showed something deeper, shock, because what he was discovering about her was not part of his plan. At the mansion gate, the beggar finished the fruit slowly, watching her expressions carefully, realizing she wasn't being kind for show. Her respect felt natural and untouched by status. The guard kept insulting him, but she firmly told him to stop, saying no one deserves to be treated badly just because they are poor or powerless. The beggar tested her further, asking for water and a place to rest. Expecting hesitation, but she quietly arranged a small chair near the garden without asking for permission. Meanwhile, inside the mansion kitchen, she packed extra food secretly, knowing the guard might throw him out again, choosing compassion over fear of losing her job. That same moment, the beggar's eyes changed slightly, because this was no longer a simple test. He was witnessing something rare that money could never buy. A few hours later, inside the mansion garden, he intentionally dropped the plate and acted rude, trying to provoke her reaction and see if her kindness had limits. She paused for a second, hurt by his tone, but instead of reacting with anger, she calmly picked up the pieces and told him, "Pain doesn't justify disrespect." Meanwhile, inside his luxury office across the city, staff struggled without their boss, unaware that he was standing outside his own house, learning lessons he never understood before. Back at the gate, the guard pushed the beggar again, but this time she stood in front of him, protecting him, risking her job just to protect someone she didn't even know. The beggar looked at her in complete silence, because in that moment the test had already gone beyond control, and what he discovered about her left him shaken. That same evening, inside the mansion backyard, the beggar sat quietly under a dim light, observing how she continued working without complaint, even after being insulted earlier. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, she was scolded by the supervisor for helping the beggar, warned that kindness like this could cost her job, yet her expression remained calm. A few moments later, she stepped outside again with a blanket, gently placing it near him, telling him nights get cold and no one deserves to suffer in silence. The beggar looked at the blanket, then at her, confused, because this level of care was beyond anything he had planned or expected from this test. Inside his mind, memories of his past behavior surfaced, how he had treated workers harshly, believing fear created loyalty, not realizing it only created distance. Meanwhile, across the city inside his luxury office, employees whispered about quitting, revealing the cracks in the empire he once believed was perfect and unbreakable. Back at the mansion gate, he asked her quietly why she was helping him, despite knowing the risks, expecting a simple answer, but receiving something deeper instead. She replied softly that once she had no one to help her, and she promised herself she would never ignore someone in need, no matter what it cost her. That answer hit him harder than any insult ever could, because for the first time he saw strength not in power, but in silent sacrifices no one noticed. As the night grew darker, the beggar sat in complete silence, realizing this test was no longer about her character. It was exposing the truth about his own. That same night, inside a parked luxury car across the street, he sat alone in silence, removing his disguise slightly, staring at his reflection as if he didn't recognize himself anymore. He remembered how he once believed respect could be forced through fear, but tonight a simple act of kindness had shaken everything he thought was true. Meanwhile, back at the mansion gate, she sat on the steps after finishing her work, tired but peaceful, unaware that she had already changed someone's entire mindset. A few minutes later, the beggar returned to her again, this time asking why she didn't hate people who treated her badly, trying to understand her strength. She replied quietly that hate only makes life heavier, and she had already suffered enough. So she chose peace over bitterness, even when it wasn't easy. Her words stayed with him as he walked away slowly into the dark street, feeling something unfamiliar, a deep sense of guilt growing stronger with every step. Meanwhile, inside his mansion bedroom later that night, he stood alone in front of a mirror, fully removing his disguise, revealing the powerful man behind the broken realization. He looked around his luxurious room, but for the first time it felt empty, because he now understood that respect and kindness could never be bought. The next morning, inside his office, he reviewed files of employees he had fired unfairly, realizing how many lives he had affected without a second thought. As he closed the files slowly, his expression changed, because this was no longer about testing others. It had become about fixing the man he used to be. The next day, inside the luxury office, he called a meeting and surprised everyone by calmly apologizing for his past behavior, something no one had ever expected from him before. Employees looked at each other in disbelief, unsure if this was real or just another test, because the man they feared had never shown even a hint of regret. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, she continued her duties as usual, unaware that the same man she helped was now questioning everything about his past decisions. Inside his office later, he reviewed her file carefully, noticing her clean record, her quiet discipline, and how she never complained despite working under pressure. That same afternoon, inside his car, he drove toward a poor neighborhood, revisiting places he had never cared to see before, trying to understand the reality others lived daily. On the street, he saw people struggling for basic needs, and for the first time, he felt uncomfortable, realizing how disconnected he had been from real life. Meanwhile, at the mansion gate, she faced another scolding from the guard for helping the beggar, but she stayed silent, choosing dignity over arguments once again. That evening, he returned in disguise once more, continuing the test. But this time, his intention was different. He wasn't testing her anymore. He was testing himself. He asked her if she ever wished for a better life, expecting frustration, but her answer surprised him once again with quiet strength and acceptance. She said, "A good life isn't about money alone. It's about peace in your heart." And that was something she refused to lose, no matter what happened. That same evening, at the mansion gate, the beggar returned once again. But this time, he looked weaker, acting more desperate, as if life had finally broken him completely. The guard immediately tried to push him away, but she stepped in again, her patience still unshaken, proving her kindness was not temporary or selective. He asked her for money this time, something beyond food, testing whether her generosity had limits when it came to sacrifice. She hesitated for a moment, not because she didn't want to help, but because she had very little, making the choice harder than before. Meanwhile, inside the mansion, her supervisor warned her strictly that helping outsiders again would lead to immediate termination without any discussion. Back at the gate, she quietly took out a small amount of her own savings and handed it to the beggar, choosing humanity over her own safety once again. The beggar froze for a second, because this was not part of any plan. She wasn't just kind, she was willing to suffer for someone she didn't even know. Though the stars say it's untrue, he felt ashamed somewhere deep inside this broken heart. I still in every real way, belong that same night, to you. Inside his mansion room, he couldn't sleep, replaying her actions again and again, realizing how small he had been despite having everything. As the morning approached, he made a silent decision. This test would end soon, because what he discovered had already changed him forever. The next morning, inside the mansion entrance, the beggar returned one last time, standing quietly as if waiting for something more than just food and help. The guard moved forward angrily again, but before he could say anything, the mansion doors slowly opened from inside, creating an though the stars say it's untrue, somewhere deep inside this broken heart I still belong. As he came closer, the beggar stood up straight, his posture no longer weak, his presence suddenly different, making her pause in confusion. In that same moment, luxury cars entered the driveway, and staff rushed forward respectfully, creating a scene that didn't match the reality she had known. The guard instantly stepped back in shock, realizing something was wrong, while she looked between the beggar and the arriving staff, trying to understand. Slowly, the beggar removed his disguise, revealing his true identity as the owner of the mansion, the same man she had been working for all along. Her hands froze, the food packet slipping slightly as everything connected at once. The test, the behavior, the hidden truth she never expected. He looked at her with a calm but emotional expression, not as a boss, but as someone who had just learned the biggest lesson of his life from her actions. In complete silence, the power in the scene shifted entirely, because now it wasn't about his identity. It was about her character that had already passed every test. For a few seconds, she couldn't speak, her eyes fixed on him as the truth settled in, every moment replaying in her mind with a completely different meaning now. The guard immediately lowered his head in fear, realizing how badly he had behaved, while the entire atmosphere shifted from control to quiet shock. He stepped closer slowly, not with authority, but with humility, looking at her not as a worker, but as someone who had shown him what real humanity looks like. She finally spoke, her voice slightly trembling, asking why he did all this. Unable to understand why someone so powerful would choose to test her like that, he answered honestly, saying he believed loyalty could be measured through fear. But she proved that real respect is through kindness and dignity. Inside the mansion hall meeting, he publicly announced changes, rehiring staff he had treated unfairly, and promising a workplace built on respect, not control. Then he turned away, offering not just appreciation, but a higher position, recognizing her strength, honesty, and the values he lacked before. She stayed silent for a moment, then accepted with calm dignity, not because of the position, but because
maybe
she saw
someday I'll
genuine
stop
change
hoping,
in him.
stop
A few
searching
days
your eyes for
later, at a
me.
public charity
But
event,
until then I'll
both stood
stay
side
a
by
shadow,
side, helping
where your
others,
heart
no
will
longer
never
divided by
be.
status, but connected by a shared understanding
I
of life.
quietly
As
keep
people
watching
watched
you
them quietly,
like a
the real
stranger
story wasn't
passing
about
by,
a test anymore.
standing
It was
outside
about
your
how
love
one
story,
act of kindness
while my own
changed a
heart
man
asks
who
me
had
why.
everything
I'm the
but
silence
understood
in the background,
Sometimes
the
life
one
tests
you'll
us in
never
ways we don't
choose,
expect,
loving
but it
you
reveals who we
without
truly are when no
belonging.
one is watching. The story ends here,
With
but the
everything
mystery
to
lives
lose.
on. Like, subscribe, and return for the next unforgettable journey.